Well, we can speak now to Bijan Kian, American Iranian businessman who was part of the transition team in President Trump's first administration. Welcome to the program. I'd like your thoughts on Iran's supreme leader. I know your team was involved in psychologically profiling him for President Trump's national security team. What he decides to do is obviously a big part of what might happen in this conflict. How do you assess that and him?
Well, good morning to you, James, and your listeners around the world. You know, Khamenei, like many dictators throughout the history, when they face the end, they lose their minds. So what he says is the natural reaction of a dictator that is seeing the end. And whatever he says, you should be taken seriously. He's a very, very implacable, vindictive personality. And you mentioned the psychological profiles available on him. He is extremely vindictive, and what he's specifically thinking on his head is, how do I take revenge on the Iranian people? He was not happy when the conflict in Gaza was happening, and people of Iran were rejoicing. They had no sympathy for those who perpetrated the tragedies of October 7th, and he now wants to take revenge on the Iranian people. He may cause mayhem when he can. He has done it before. This is not the first time. He will create events and blame Israel for it. It's a highly, highly probable scenario. They've done it before. They don't have any air defenses. He has lost his proxy. His top commanders are eliminated. He's left alone with his own wild, crazy attitude. He's a very vindictive, but also a very cautious person that will not take action if he believes that the response will be fierce and immediate.
When you say facing the end, what exactly do you have in mind? Because there's certainly lots of talk in American and Israeli circles about the possibility of regime change. And yet, presumably, any change in regime that came about through Israeli and American bombing would be rejected by many Iranians, whether they're fans of its current leadership or not.
Well, regime change happens when a government loses the support of its people. Their own Ministry of Guidance published surveys that showed that officially 73% of the population do not want this Islamic Republic anymore. This was published by their own Ministry of Guidance. Now, people in Iran said, how do you expect people to respond to a question of, do you want Islamic Republic or not in a regime that brutal? So many people may have just said, or stayed silent, the fear. And they estimated the degree of dissent at about 92% of the population. How could we say that, a government can survive with that degree of dissatisfaction amongst its population?
You've obviously worked with President Trump and his team. What's your assessment now? Do you think it's likely that he does order the US Air Force into this conflict?
Well, President Trump has already authorized the military operation against the Islamic Republic. And James, I think it's important to mention that there is a difference between a 46-year-old juvenile criminal called Islamic Republic and Iran. Thousands of years of culture and history. There is a difference. The Islamic Republic in Iran is not Iran, and that distinction is realized. So President Trump has authorized military operation, but authorization does not equate to permission. He is yet to order the actual start of the operation. So I cannot say anything. I'm not speaking on his behalf or the administration's behalf. I can only tell you, from knowing what I know, that when President Trump has a resolve and he states something, of course, there's a lot of cognitive wars that are going on right now, and conflicting statements, but he has a resolve and he will do what he says. This is a warning to Ayatollah Khamenei, wherever he is, that he is very serious, and he is hoping that they would stop the hostilities, they will surrender unconditionally. And of course, as you heard, the suicidal Ayatollah Khamenei has rejected that idea altogether.
Bijan Kian, thank you very much indeed, American Iranian businessman who had served in the transition team in President Trump's first administration.